Hey guys, it's Creativy here, and today for this OC video, I'm going to be reading y'all a very spicy story that I written, whatever you call the word. Also, letting you know, I wrote this in like 9th grade. It's like 4 pages long. I don't think it's gonna take that long to read, but it has a very small font. Also, I got like an A on this, so if my English teacher liked it, then y'all need to like it. I'll give y'all a backstory of this. There's a person named Gary. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, well, let's get right into the story. Okay, so before I get into the story, I like to say I'm probably going to cringe at this because this was like a really weird story I've written. I'm probably just gonna stop in the middle of reading and be like, why the heck of the whom, you know what I'm saying? Oh, hello, one of my buddies have come here. Well, hello, you're here to listen to the story. Okay. Yeah, it's really small font. It's like Times New Roman, but okay, let's get into this. Could get my voice on. A life for life. I think I was supposed to say a life for a life, but the title says a life for life. A life. Oh god, my grammar. Oh my god, it's fine. Okay. A life for a life. Once upon a time. Oh, you know it's good when it starts with once upon a time. Okay, anywho. Once upon a time, there once was an 85-year-old man named Gary. Gary lived in a small town in Kentucky. His wife, Gertrude, recently died 2 months ago in a car crash. He had a minor fracture in his leg, so he would always limp, and they didn't have any kids. I'm sorry. I just blurted out, and they did not have any kids. Like, okay, that had to be very necessary. Oh, wait. Oh, I remember. Okay, y'all see. Gary was in the middle of reading the newspaper when there is a knock at the door. Who is knocking on my door? He slowly got out of his chair and limped across the floor to the door. Why is there a rock at my doorstep? Gary picked up this ordinary rock and examined it. He started licking the rock to see whether if it tasted like anything. Well, this rock doesn't taste good. He threw the rock on the ground and slammed the door and went back to his reading. I'm sorry, but licking a rock? What? 2 hours later, 2 hours, not just an hour, 2 hours later, there was another knock at the door. He got up from his chair again, and he opened the door. It was the rock again, but this time, the rock had legs, arms, and eyes. Gary was so shocked that he passed out onto the ground. He woke up 5 minutes to realize the rock was still here. Alright, the story is getting so interesting. What do you want from me? The rock climbed up onto Gary's leg and just smiled. I need your help. Why would you want my help? I am an 85-year-old man living in this tiny house all by myself. What would you possibly want from me? Just follow me. The rock jumped off Gary's leg and started walking down the dirt road into the forest. Came upon a hole in the ground that was the size of a gumdrop. We're here. And Gary looked at the small hole and just started laughing. Why did you take me to the hole? Is this some sort of joke? Did my therapist set you up to mess with me? The rock just stood there. It started pacing around the hole and then stopped. You see, Barry? Is it? No, it's Gary. Well, Gary, your therapist did not set you up to mess with you. I'll explain everything later to you, but for now, I need you to get into this hole. Gary looked at the hole and looked back at the rock. You're kidding, right? There's no way I can fit into this hole. If anything, you would have a better chance. Well, Gary, I need you to get into the hole, or I'll push your wrinkly body into that hole myself. Gary obeyed and stood on top of the hole. Gary was then sucked into the hole, and the rock followed in after him. The hole led them into Central Park in New York City. Why are we in New York City? No questions until the end. Here, I'm giving you this necklace to wear. Just wear it, but don't open it until I say so. I'm gonna. I guess. Gary took the necklace from the rock and put it around his neck. How did you carry that necklace? I have my ways, Gary. Just keep on following me and don't wander. After a few hours of walking through the city, they came upon an abandoned building near a bread factory. What are we doing here? Be patient, Gary. You sound like a whiny kid. The rock walked toward the door and jumped onto the doorknob. Come on, it's open. Gary hesitated at first, but decided to walk in anyways. I'm still here. Oh my god. They came across 3 doors. So, Gary, you have some options to which door you want to go in. And door number 1, acid rain. And door number 2 and 3, it's unknown. So which one is it? Gary just stood in the middle of the room looking at 3 doors, unsure what to do. He noticed the front door that they came in through was still open. And he thought he could make a run for it, but realized he had a bad leg. He realized that the rock could kill him since he knew nothing about this mysterious creature. You're giving me 3 options and one is death and the others are unknown? Wow. Really, Sherlock? Just hurry up, I'll choose for you. Gary decided to choose the second option since it was his lucky number. You chose wisely. There's nothing in any of the doors. I just wanted to see how you would do. Well, thanks a lot. Also, I never got your name. Just call me Rocky. Okay, Rocky, where do we go next? Just up the stairs and through the window. You want me to go through a window? You're a tough old lad. You're like Captain Hook, but you still have a leg. How does that make me Captain Hook then? You know what? Never mind. Just keep following me since that's the only thing you're good at. Gary rolled his eyes and slowly walked through the second door and up the stairs. Howard Badlag didn't help him at all. About 5 minutes of walking up the stairs, they came to a mahogany window. There were flowers engraved into the frame. Why is there only one window? As I said, Gary, don't ask too many questions. Now go through the window and I will follow you from behind. Gary obeyed Rocky and jumped through the window. After he went through, Rocky did too. They did not fall to their deaths. Instead of falling, they flew up onto the top of a building. Gary and Rocky fell onto the hard concrete of the building, but they were fine. Gary got up slowly. Where are we? Follow me. Rocky guided him into a cloud of fog and then stopped. Gary almost stepped on Rocky since it was very foggy. Hey, watch it, pal. Sorry. Why are we here? I can barely see anything. Look forward and you'll see something there. Gary squinted into the distance to see a person standing in the fog. Who is that person standing over there? Why don't you go over and find out? You want me to go over to the person that I don't know? You don't know that they could kill me. Death isn't that bad. Just go. Gary stared at Rocky thinking how insane this is. He walked over to the strange person. Excuse me, Gary said. Person still didn't turn around. Rocky, what do I do? Just talk. You know how to talk to people, right? Gary just nodded and walked closer to the person. He was about to tap on the person's shoulder when the person turned around. Gary jumped back. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. The person said. Gary got a closer look at the person. It was a girl who looked about 16 years old and had brown hair and hazel eyes and wore a white silk dress with a blue ribbon tied around the dress. Dang, I am good at detail. Wow, okay. It looked like she hadn't worn shoes in years since her toes were all dirty and chipped. Gary just looked at her for a few seconds before talking to her. Who are you and what are you doing on top of the roof? The girl didn't respond except stare at the ground. I'll leave you to your own. Just call me when you're done, Rocky said. Rocky skipped into the fog and was out of sight. My name is Bertha. I'm your daughter. Gary stood there in silence. His eyes bulged out of his head. He stared off into the distance, not knowing what to do next. I know this might come as a surprise, since you know you don't have any kids. My mom was Gertrude. She had me 16 years ago. She gave me up for adoption, and my adoptive parents had a letter to give to me when I was 10. It said everything that I need to know about you and myself, including that I had a father named Gary, and I lived in a small town in Kentucky. Gary, still frozen as Bertha, said this information. I didn't have enough money at the time to go see you, since I'm only 16 and my parents wouldn't let me go. So I made a wish on a rock to get me to my father. Gary finally opened his mouth to speak. So you're saying that Rocky brought me to New York City to meet you? Out of nowhere, Rocky jumped out of the fog and walked over to them. You are correct, Gary. I just couldn't tell you until you met her. Gary paced in a circle, still trying to understand this whole situation. So, Bertha, you are my daughter? Bertha smiled. Yes, you are. How did I know about this? Well, apparently you went to go look for dinosaur fossils for about a year and a half. And Gary looked at Bertha. So, my wife never told me. Bertha's smile faded. She walked a few steps away from Gary. Well, I'm not sure what happened when you came back. She didn't tell me about that part since it was in the letter. I thought she would have told you and you could have come looking for me sooner. Gary walked towards Rocky, who was picking at the ground. Well, Bertha, Gertrude died 2 months ago in a car crash. I'm still here. Bertha looked up at Gary. She didn't cry, but she did sit on the floor and hugged her knees. I wanted to meet her, she said weakly. Rocky got up and patted Bertha's foot. When the time comes, sweetie, but for now you have to open your necklaces. My what? Gary said. He realized that Rocky had given him a necklace before they left. Oh, I forgot about that. Gary took the necklace off from around his neck and placed it in his palm. Bertha did the same too. When I say go, open it. 1, 2, go. Rocky walked to the side of them to see their reaction. Gary opened his necklace to see a picture of Bertha and his wife Gertrude in the necklace. Bertha saw Gary and her mom Gertrude in her necklace. Both of them were shocked. Bertha got up to meet Gary's eyes. Why do we have these necklaces? Gary glanced over at Rocky, who was just whistling and slowly walking away. Rocky! Shouted Gary, and Bertha. Rocky stopped inside. Oh, I'm just a rock, okay? Gary started laughing and Bertha just glared at Rocky. Rocky took the necklaces from them and put it back where he kept it before, so Bertha or Gary could never find it. Here's the thing, Gary and Bertha. This might come off a little weird, but to show that Bertha is your daughter, Bertha has to jump off this building, proving that she'll do anything for you. I'm sorry. I don't know what that part was. Bertha's face went white as a ghost. Gary was stunned. I don't want to do it, Bertha said sadly. Gary still hadn't said anything yet. Rocky walked toward Bertha and looked up at her. It's gonna be okay, Bertha. If you truly want to be with your dad, you'll do it. Bertha looked at Rocky, then to the edge of the building. Bertha nodded and started to walk slowly to the edge of the building. Gary realized what she was doing and limped over toward Bertha. You don't have to do it, Bertha. Bertha looked at Gary. Her eyes started to water. I have to if I ever want to be with you. Gary hugged her tight for a few seconds and then let her go. Bertha rubbed her eyes. Okay, here I go. Last page, boys. Okay, here I go, she said quietly. Bertha was about to fall off the building until Gary pulled her back. What are you doing, Gary? Bertha yelled. Gary looked into her eyes and smiled, then jumped off the building. Bertha fell to the ground crying, and Rocky walked over to Bertha. It's gonna be okay. Gary did this for you. I mean, your dad did this for you. Bertha buried her head into the ground. Gary didn't want to jump off the building, but Gary knew that he would never see his daughter again, and that devastated him. Even when he just found out that he had a daughter, everything changed for him. Rocky took Bertha back to Gary's house. She cried the whole way back. She had no family left for her except for her adoptive parents who didn't care about her anymore. Yeah, they just forgot about her. After Rocky took Bertha to the house, Rocky said goodbye to Bertha and they went their separate ways. A month went by and Bertha was still sad, but she learned that he did it for her. Knowing that made her happy. Sitting on the chair where Gary once read his newspaper lay Bertha in her silk dress with that blue ribbon tied around her dress, and her feet were finally cleaned. Bertha spent most of her time sitting on the chair. There was a knock at the door one day, and Bertha walked towards the door and opened it. There, sitting on the ground, was a necklace. She opened the necklace to see herself, her dad, Gary, and her mother, Gertrude. A tear fell down her cheek and she smiled. I love you, Dad. She clenched the necklace in her hand, but before she closed the door, she said, You'll always be in my heart because in there, you are still alive. The end. I hope you all enjoyed that story. That was so much fun. So I feel like the twist at the end where that's so random. Yeah, I don't know. Also, again, I wrote this in 9th grade. Comment down below, did you guys like it or not? Yeah, so thank you guys for listening to this story. I wanted to read to you guys because I wanted to get y'all opinions on this. I don't know. Hope y'all enjoy that. Gary is very spicy, so yeah, so thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. And yeah, and bye y'all.